So hi everyone, my name is Ng'endo Mukii and I am a documentary animator. So the name of my presentation is Film, Taxidermy and Reanimation. So there stands a massive library in my father's house, and as a child I used to rummage through his books, and my hands would often settle on this photography book with a picture of a tall-looking, chocolate-colored man with lips painted black. His hair was braided, and he had these beautiful ornaments in his turban. When I first saw this man, I thought that he was a woman, and even after discovering my mistake, I preferred to think of him as such. So this, my man-woman, stared into the distance, looking mysterious, melancholic, and perhaps a little bit upset that I'd given him a sex change. So I dragged the last Africans across the floor onto the carpet, and I flipped through the pages to stare at these beautiful and mysterious people with whom I shared a name, a category. And I discovered that despite there being millions of us, according to this book, we were on the verge of extinction. Realizing that 10 years had already passed since this book had been published, I was lamenting the passing of my people who I had never met. And I was beating my chest thinking, why was I born into an Africa with running water and education? Did my parents really need to raise me in this brick house with a refrigerator and my favorite cereal, Rice Krispies? What I wanted was to have an epic sunset to walk across with a spear in my hand. I wanted to be an African. So this was my first experience with the concept of the indigenous person and our representation in film and photography. Fast forward to the summer of 2011, and I was working on my dissertation at the Royal College of Art, where I was comparing the process of ethnographic filmmaking with the process of taxidermy. So both of these practices involve an act of deletion, of drying out, of editing an indigenous species for the sake of representing it as an icon in a foreign context. The great artistry of taxidermy is to take a dead skin and to do such a beautiful job to it that when someone looks at it, they'll believe this animal is alive. It must look natural, and that is the point of having a beautiful taxidermy traditionally. It must be felt that the people that you're seeing belong to a time gone by, lost beyond recovery, and yet faithfully captured by the dexterity of the filmmaker. And this is how ethnographic people are often represented. The irony is that to make a natural representation of indigenous people, they must always appear to be dead or disappearing, which is why over 20 years after I first held the last Africans in my hands, I come across before they pass away in the MoMA in New York. So what's the big deal? Yeah. The thing is, for indigenous people, when it comes to an indexical or real image, when it concerns us, these images are presented as absolute truths, truths outside which we are not allowed to exist. They're always presenting a singular story, and historically this story has benefited the people who are telling them. So, for example, if people are disappearing or they're no longer going to exist, then they're not going to have any need to keep their land. So why not set up a colony? If a people are just curious savages, then they could do with a little bit of salvation. So why not convert them? And if you can use real or natural images and combine this with science and tell the people that you can prove that one race is superior to the rest, then why not continue with slavery or even perhaps do some biological experiments and even turn a woman into a taxidermic piece, as was done to the Hottentot Venus by George Cuvier. So I was asking, am I indigenous? I don't know what I am right now. While I was researching, I started to relate to and reject this concept of the indigenous or the other. Playing the role of the ethnographer and naturally as an ethnographic person, I was forced to confront this conflict within myself, this friction between seeing, being seen, and seeing what other people see within you. So I started looking at the media in Nairobi, and I was looking at the way, like I realized our media is so skewed to Western ideals of beauty. And I started realizing how women in Nairobi are trying so hard to fulfill these Western ideals of beauty, which naturally go against the grain of our bodies. When I started making my film, which is called Yellow Fever, which he mentioned before, so I'm just going to play this for you.
Unisa kumi kamili, hamjambo wasikilizaji, jina langu ni Grace.
My sister and I are teenagers. We are having our hair braided at the hair salon. My magazine is on my lap because it hurts too much to read. My sister is asleep. She is chocolate. I am toffee. The woman tugging on my hair is mkorogo, a mixture of both, meaning she could only afford enough beauty cream to bleach her hands and face, which are now yellow. Her true ebony persists on the length of her upper arms, the bow of her stomach, the breadth of her thighs. I see the West seeing us, and in response, this woman had worked hard to erase the element that marks her as truly African. Her own melanin, her own skin. I watched her in the mirror. She stared back at me. Pitying her, I closed my eyes and took the pain as she tugged harder on the long, straight nylon hair made in China and braided onto my head.
So the African was confused. So they started now to be a conflict. So they go to extremes. In a white complexion was beauty. And that is now what drove the girls to try and use the beauty creams to bleach themselves.
I really want to be American instead of a Kenyan. If I was American, I would be white, and I love being white.
But you know you can't change.
I know I can.
How?
With magic. Magic is real.
So if you had magic, you would do what?
I would change myself into white hair and white skin.
I've seen people put those creams on little babies.
This is a cream. I spread it carefully onto my skin and pray for it to take effect. Day and night, and night and day, and night and day, day and night. I just want to be night and days. I just want to be. I just want to be night and days. I just want to be day and night. This is a cream. This is a cream. There's the you imagine yourself to be, the one you hate, the one you despise. Your reflection is almost a monster to you. You feel let down by it, taunted, even attacked. It becomes real, as if another person. What was making you straighten our hair?
Like my girls to look much better.
You thought that we would look better if our hair was...
Look better, it would be easier for me to manage. I just thought I was doing right.
This fever we then pass on to our children.
Our new improved formula that delicately brightens your skin up to 5 shades lighter for true beauty.
With the coarse weave of my mother's carpet beneath our feet, I asked my niece this question. Now, Abby, tell me, yeah?
Yes.
If you're here saying that you want to be white,
Yes.
how does that make you feel about the way you look when you're looking in the mirror?
It makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable.
The fault lines within we overwrite with borders, hierarchies of beauty cut into our skin, never admitting that we are all just a little bit uncomfortable.
Okay, so I felt that the issues related to the indigenous image and us being either backwards or disappearing and maybe subhuman, we've internalized these thoughts and these ideas, and then we play them out on our bodies, which is why I think women go through so much effort to change the way they look to achieve a more Western ideal of beauty. So these images really affect us. It's not just affecting how other people see us, but also affecting how we see ourselves. So Binyavanga Wainaina, who's a writer in Kenya, said that for people to write about Africa, they are expected to employ the 4 Ds, which are death, destruction, disease, and danger. So I was asking myself, how can we move forwards and take this image of the indigenous person, or Africans, or whoever, and all of us, and move forwards positively in this world? So Jimmy Chuchu, a director in Kenya, said that when he made his film, Stories of Our Lives, he decided to shoot it in black and white as a means of separating the stories of Africans that he was telling from the color and romanticism of the African story. Marjane Satrapi says that drawings are abstract, and she felt that if she had used real people in the making of her film Persepolis, then immediately it would have become an ethnic film about some Arab people somewhere over there dealing with their issues with God. So the taxidermist works as an illusionist, creating the illusion of life where none exists. Equally so, the ethnographer works as an illusionist, creating the impression of death where life existed. Both of these rely on the natural or the indexical image to have their effect. So I propose the use of animation in relation to indigenous people as a means of just telling you that these people are human. The animation is not related to the indexical image. It's able to emulate human emotions and experiences, even to a fantastical level, as you can see I did with my niece here. So since the artist's hand is very obviously involved in bringing these images to life, animation is not pretending to be alive, as is the case with taxidermy. Unlike ethnography, it's not tied to a singular story or to any absolute truths. It allows multiple interpretations of the human experience. So I believe animation can be used to emulate something that is intangible, something that is humanity. It is our soul unlimited by the preconceptions and expectations of a real image. So that's my proposal, and that's how I want to use my animation as I move forward. I just wanted to show you some other parts of my work. So I did a series of photographs called the Travelogue series. This is Victoria Falls, and I feel that Africa represented an area to explore and conquer for the imperial male. And what I was doing was, it was like the body of a woman. So what I was doing was combining photography of landscapes from places I've been with close-up photography of the female body. This is my attempt to reclaim the land and to take back the body, the ownership of the body. Here is, this one is called Longonaut, and it's quite dark. It's a shot from the edge of the escarpment into the Rift Valley, and this is a close-up of a woman's neck, and that's her chin at the top and moving down towards her collarbone on this side. So I've also been experimenting with this idea of the disappearing sense of self, and as you can see, I really enjoy working with dancers. So the next piece is called Low Tide, and what I did is I took some film that I'd shot of this dancer, I printed out the frames, and I used sandpaper to scratch at the image, and then I scanned this back in, and this is the result. So, last but not least, there's a short animation I did with some found film footage. We took the film, I put it into some bleach in my bathtub, I let it sit there for a while, and then I brought it back out, scratched at it, because I enjoy scratching at stuff. I took lace and dried petals, some insect wings, and I attached it to the film, re-exposed it onto another piece of film, and I made this untitled piece. It's called Mr. Rabbit because there's a rabbit in the found footage. So that's the end. These are my websites. I'd love it if you would visit. My contact is on my websites as well. So if you want to drop an email or get in touch, I'd really like to hear from you. Thank you for your time.